So my early morning ritual is to make a nice 24 ounces of coffee and then sit in silent reflection. And I would encourage you to try this if you haven't. If you're not a practitioner of solitude and reflection, I would encourage you to try it at least a month of attempts. I remember when I was in college going to Moody Bible Institute in Chicago and taking classes on spirituality and meditation, and prayer was one of those topics. And I got to tell you, it was not, from what I remember, and again, different stages in our lives of development, I could not have been paying attention very well, and it could have been laid out there precisely as I needed it to, but I just could not understand the dynamic of journaling. It was a painful exercise for me. In the same way that when I was taking my homiletics class on speech prep and giving speeches as a pastor, which is what a sermon is. A sermon is a persuasive speech, unless it's extemporaneous, but at the same time, extemporaneous, I mean, even this is a persuasive speech. I'm trying to persuade you of information that I have come to on my own in the hopes that my understanding of my experience is very similar to yours because we are the same. You are human. I'm human. I'm not saying the non-duality thing. I'm not a big fan of that. Again, I could be 30 years behind the curve on understanding what non-duality is. But every time I listen to Rupert, is it Spiro, or there's one guy and he always talks really quiet and he speaks really, and his non-duality, I was thinking about doing a video on this in just a short video. I make short videos, you know that, right? But the beginning of his non-duality conversation with one of the audience members is he says, "There is no time." And she says, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Well, have you ever been to the past?" She says, "No." But that is a false dilemma. In my mind, it's a false dilemma because that's not what we're talking about when we talk about time. I was opposed to a lot of the philosophical maxims that I came across in my undergrad and graduate studies with philosophy. And one of them had to do with God and time. And I never understood how people could say with a straight face that God is outside of time. Time is something that God created. Therefore, God doesn't need time because he created it for us, or whatever it is. All of these metaphysical, philosophical theories that can only be established by logical and consistent thinking within one's mind. So I was sitting here reflecting on just myself in terms of the hero's journey that I am on, which is the dark night of the soul, which is working on things within my emotional, mental, intellectual, spiritual, physiological, metaphysical, however, my entire being. And one of the thoughts came up was the overcoming of difficult obstacles in one's life through the power of the subconscious mind. And all that gobbledygook means is the way you have allowed your mind to be shaped by others and by your response to others is the program that runs your life. The dissatisfaction that I have had in my life comes with the programs that I've created as a child that now as an adult I find to be inhibitors of progress. And the most recent events of my transformation have come in playing billiards. We've all seen Happy Gilmore. We've all seen other instances of clips from America's Funniest Home Videos when people are playing golf and they just lose their mind when they miss a shot or when they, drive the ball into the drink. And they either snap the club or throw it, or it's just this expression. That doesn't happen when I play golf. It happens when I play billiards. And the awareness of what's going on, the part of me that interacts with the other part of me within is very much like a demoniac possession, in that the voice that I've created in my mind to overreact to simple foibles or shortfalls or missing the mark, it doesn't, those events don't warrant losing your mind. Kind of like someone in a traffic situation. You have two people in traffic. The one person is next to the man over here on the left is just screaming, blowing the horn, cussing, flipping the bird. And the person next to him is in the same situation, and yet she is calm, cool, and collected as she's applying her makeup and thanking Jesus that there is enough traffic to slow her down so that she can make her face look presentable. So for her, traffic is a good thing. For him, it triggers him to just lose his mind. He is a 3-year-old throwing a fit in the aisle because mom says you can't have that toy, or you can't have that candy, or you can't have that cereal. And so the kid loses his mind and throws himself down and fits. That's demoniac possession. In my mind, this came to me yesterday as I was thinking about this because of the focus in Christianity on the demon possessions in the New Testament. The popular evangelical mainstream view of spirituality is that there are spiritual entities out there that can and do affect our existence. I'm not of that mind. The only thing that I've ever experienced that's fucked up my life is me. No demons, but it's the voice in my head saying fear, laziness is better, procrastination is better. I'm creating something that I'm going to have to undo like a Gordian knot, and it's not going to be untying a nice little bow on a present. The Gordian knot is a Smurf damn rock of Gibraltar that you have to obliterate, destroy. So yesterday it happened again in my billiarding. It is just so interesting how this sleeping demon is awakened by a simple miscue on the billiards table. And I have a voice in my head that expresses itself verbally with just expressions of anger and frustration, under the breath, mutterings. Because my intention is to, first of all, make the shot I'm aiming at, but then also to leave myself another shot, which is to follow. So if I have a shot that's lined up that is a direct shot and I miss it, it just snaps in my head like it's just a but it doesn't happen all the time. It's almost like yesterday it had to happen quite a few times. I was playing my friend Chip, and man, he was running the table like crazy. He had like 11 shots up on me. I was down 11 shots. It means he made 11 consecutive shots, right? Which is impressive because Chip is a good player. And he has a good eye, and his form is interesting. He's a fun person to watch. He has a little bunny hop when he's like setting up. I might have to watch him and find out what is making him bunny hop on that shot, but not on the other shots. On some shots he just lines up and goes, but on some shots he'll give himself a little. And seriously, it's a lifting of the balls of the feet, and he like hops and gets himself set up. It's quite endearing. So this fellow billiardier runs 11 balls. And then it's my turn. And I miss. So my turn's over. And now he gets to go again. And that just triggers a snap of like, oh, great. Good job. You got 0 shots. And it's just this voice of accusation in your head. And I'm thinking to myself, who the fuck? Like, where are you? Like, leave me alone. I'm here trying to play. I love billiards. I love it. I make some pretty amazing shots. And I miss some intensely easy, simple, basic shots, as does Chip. But this is all my sharing with you, that this demon that I've had to begin exercising in the past 6 months, because I've been playing billiards more intensely in the past 6 months. I'm thinking to myself, when am I going to stop snapping? When am I going to stop? Because I've tried different things along the way of attention redirection, which I've tried to create a mindset that is alliterated with D's. So you have to detect the thought. A 3-year-old who just has this immediate knee-jerk reaction to throwing a fit creates within his existence the tyranny of the urgent. If you have a thought, that thought must be carried out immediately if it is something that is an external action. Like, say, for instance, I'm sitting here talking to you, but I could have a thought in my mind, it feels like you might have to have a bathroom break in just a minute, so you might as well do that. And I'm like, no, I'm here right now. That is not a program of distraction, another D word. But you have to detect the thought as it comes. Otherwise, it's just a thought that you didn't run into a program. You just automatically. But the trick is to begin to tell yourself to detect when that thought comes so that you recognize it as an errant thought that you have to combat. So instead of carrying out a thought of frustration and anger, it is a matter of one of the things that it's a matter of redirection. So one of the things that I came up with in combating my demon, my demoniac personality that throws itself into the fire whenever it fits. This is again this is my interpretation, my understanding of the New Testament stories of demon possession is that they are simply unhinged minds. And the story doesn't tell you that. I have begun to interpret those stories reflectively, understanding that I have the potential to be a demoniac of legionnaire proportions, right? You come across someone who is so mentally unstable that they have 1,000 voices in their heads for 1,000 programs. Those voices are not demons. Those voices are personalities that this person has created to navigate life's situations. And in life situations, when you come against a difficult trial, what is the program that runs when you trigger that program? Well, for some reason, again, it's not in golf, doesn't happen in golf. When I shank in billiards, it's completely different. So one of the things that I came up with for myself was to treat my missed shots as gifts to Chip, because now he has a simple shot to make, and that's a dopamine fix for him. It makes him feel good. So the other aspect of my working through this is to realize that Chip is not my opponent. He's like he makes his own shots. I am my opponent. Even though he and I are playing a game that terminates when we reach 25, the first to 25, that to me is now no longer an issue. It's not I'm going to be the first, because then it's a competition. And I actually had this in my mind. Sorry, I'm just rambling. Hopefully this is going to be meaningful to somebody out there. But here comes the sun. Do-do-do-do. The scorekeeping device, which is a cheesy knockoff version of a abacus, has a top and a bottom rail. The top doesn't mean that you're the best. The bottom doesn't mean that you're the worst or that you're second. But the way that we score is the first billiardaire to pot a ball gets the top rail. And in my mind, the top was the best. So I had to deprogram that thinking to myself saying, Travel, that's not what that means. Because if you think that that's what that means and you don't make it to the top, the first, then that is an attitude of defeat. That is an attitude of anger. That is an attitude of disgust. And it comes out in my expression. And I sit there scoffing in my mind, just over and over again. You missed that shot. You missed that shot. You missed that shot. That was an easy shot. And I'm like, stop talking to me, man. Shut the Smurf up and leave me the Smurf alone so I can just... And it came to me that I was living out that expression of when Jesus' disciples brought to him a demoniac and they said, can't do anything with this guy. We've tried everything. You taught us how to do all that. We tried all, and we can't do it. And Jesus goes, and it's done. And they said, how come we? And he said, these kinds of demons, the personality that you've created within your mind based on a traumatic experience that no doubt was traumatic, no doubt. But you have to realize that that trauma that you experienced when you were whatever age you were was reinforced by your emotional response and recapitulation of that response whenever that trigger would come up. So somewhere in the back of my existence, somewhere in the back of my experience, I created a program of overreacting in anger, and it doesn't always happen, right? It's not like every time I make a mistake, I have it. It's like this particular demon. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. And it's only this particular game. Like, I was playing another game of billiards with John, and we played fine. I had no problems, because the structure of the game is completely different than the structure of the game that I play with Chip. So there's a voice in my head that is my voice. It's not a demon. It's not, oh, that's what I was saying earlier about Christianity and spirituality. In Christianity and spirituality, there are spiritual entities, the first of which is the primo, right? Optimus Prime is God. And then God creates angels, and then angels bifurcate and create demons and angels. That's you. The demon on your shoulder and the angel on your shoulder in the cartoons always looks exactly like the person that is being addressed by these entities. I don't have anyone to tell me this. I came to this on my own. You can run it through your own grid. Take what you like, leave what you don't, but appreciate what is substantial. There is no Satan, there is no God, there is no angel, there is no demon. Each and every one of those expressions is an aspect of your psychological profile. So these stories in the New Testament about demons and people with health issues, hemorrhages, or blindness, those are all metaphors. Those are all metaphors. Like, if you think about it this way, I would not be equipped to handle an exorcism if I came across someone who is possessed by a demon. I would have no idea how to exorcise that demon. If I thought it was a spiritual entity over which I had to use the word incant, spells over. But that's the way that you shape your mind, is by spelling your mind along a certain trajectory that you continually reinforce. And a lot of our behaviors are reinforced when we're so young that we don't understand that we don't get, and then we're 10, 15, 40 years down the line and we're thinking, why am I this way? And then that's when you get into the comedic aspect of Bob Newhart's skit on a counselee coming in to stop a behavior that they want to stop. And she says, well, I know that this stuff is tied to my childhood. And he says, oh, no, we don't go there. We don't go there. Because it's got this meaningless attempt to try to figure out what makes me the way, what happened to me when I was a child. But see, that's not the tack that I'm taking. The tack that I'm taking is the tack that is addressing my personal decisions to act a certain way based on how I think. So the traumatic event that I experienced as a child creates emotional reactions that shape decisions that I make in that moment. I just had a an errant thought again. So this is the whole interesting thing about these thoughts. Like my subconscious just brought up a thought to my mind that I didn't finish from before. All right. So what I intended to do was simply to sit down and work through this, but then I thought, well, it would be interesting to film it and do it in real time so that you can see how I work through myself, so to speak. So what I'd like to do right now is simply reflect on myself. So it's going to be quiet. And I'm going to let you know a bit of what's going on in the quietude of my mind. Is that I'm going to mentally put myself back in a playing position to understand possibly what the trigger is. Because like I said, there were shots that I would make, and then there were shots that I would miss. And when I missed those shots, it wasn't always the fact that the voice came out. It would just happen on certain ones. Like it was the third time, and that's 3 in a row. And then it would be like, now I'm pissed. So then I have to figure out how to unpiss or, actually just delete or remove that program. All right. Just to let you know, I have thoughts right now that are trying to drag me away, or thoughts that are developing beyond what I'm doing. Like, oh, tell them this. Oh, tell them this. But I'm in a moment right now that I've now interrupted. But then I thought, well, this is what the whole practice is. Like, if you are trying to meditate and work through it, in the same way that I didn't finish this thought about meditation and journaling when I was in college, they suggested that meditation and journaling is a good discipline, but I didn't understand why and how until just recently, as I've started to journal in the past 6+ months. And that is just the free-flowing stream of conscious awareness of something that either needs to be addressed or disavowed. So the idea is to simply sit down with a journal that's completely blank and just write a thought. But don't entertain the thought. That's the discipline. The thoughts come, and they only remain if they are entertained and carried out through the execution of that program. So the idea for journaling is write down everything that you're thinking, which requires a lot of time to be still, to be quiet, to formulate your thoughts, because then you also are translating the thought, which is zeros and ones, into English or whatever your language is. So then if you have a thought and you write it down, you now see the thought in another aspect of thinking. And so then you can say to yourself, is that the thought that I'm having? Is that accurate? Is this true? So then when you're journaling, you begin to interrogate your own thoughts. What is this? Is this a true idea? Do I need to do this right now, or can it be tabled for a more convenient time? Meditation is the same thing. Meditation is journaling without writing. Meditation is simply focusing the power of your mind upon a static and stable stream of focus. I'll just say it that way. So as I was sitting here, I was imagining myself again in a situation of billiards. So I have to create within my mind a scenario. That's a lot of work. Try and do this in your meditation. Try and imagine yourself in a field of pure joy, of just butterflies and flowers and birds and everything, right? How easy is it for you to imagine that? For me, it's very difficult. Right now, all I can see is the light of the sun coming in and different things that are like, there's this, what is that? That's been there for a while. I can see this image in my eye. It's moving around. Anyway. If I were to imagine myself at a billiards table right now, I don't see that. It's just light in my eyes right now. It's just oranges and blacks and reds and yellows and swirls and patterns. Even right now, as I'm squinching my eyes, there's something like, there is a constant. What is this? And it falls down. It's like I'm watching it drop in my vision. That's the sun. That's just so bizarre, man. Everything in my mind is black except for this red. It's going up. What the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Like, what's doing that? And then as I took my hand away, light just floods in. All right. Hey, man, it is what it is. It was what it was. It will be what it will be. So in the reality of reflecting on billiards, I'm thinking about playing by myself. And when I'm playing by myself, there's not a psychological competition with anyone else. So I'm not as frustrated that I leave a shot because I'm the only one there and there it is for me to pick up. However, I notice that I still have this, like if I miss a shot, I'll go, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. And I tell myself that over again. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Shut the Smurf up. Stop doing that. Stop. But I'm not saying it out loud. I'm saying it in my mind to myself. Then I'm thinking, why isn't this stopping? And Jesus' words come back to me. This kind can only be cast out through fasting and prayer. Fasting and prayer is all about you. Your determination to fasting is the elimination of consumption so that the attention can be focused on change. Fasting is an additional step to meditation and personal development. So let's say, for instance, if I were just simply thinking, oh, I am going to become more healthy. But I find myself on a daily basis not focusing on that, forgetting it, uh, irresponsibly eating something or not doing something that's a poor decision. You have to recognize, oh, I'm doing that. Oh, I'm right. Like that thought just came in. I just recognized that thought that said, you don't have to go for a run today. You don't have to get up and do your yoga. You don't have to do, like, that voice is a program that started back when I wanted to do something and then it got too hard and I thought, I don't want to do it. Yoga is difficult. Running is difficult. Eating healthy is difficult. Not enjoying myself with beer or whiskey, that is something that is a challenge, not as an alcoholic, just as I can do this, I like doing this, but it's probably not that healthy for me and I'm going to have to stop. But my body says, you don't have to stop. Don't worry about that. No. That's the whole contrivance of your psychological profile. Those voices in your head that are not the result of your direct, intentional thought are programs of your subconscious mind. It's still you. It's still your voice. I hope some of this is helpful. I mean, it just takes... It only takes a spark to get the fire going. You know, I just have to say one thing that makes sense to you, and that becomes something that you can develop for yourself to better yourself. How do you need to change? All right. I'm going to try to get back now into the meditation of exercising these demons. One of the other things that I did was to redirect my mind, as I said, to treat one of my misses as a gift to Chip. So I would either say out loud, "Happy birthday to you," like I'm giving you a gift. This is yours, take it. Or I would say that in my mind. But that would be my response now because my subconscious is bringing up anger, frustration, and I think, no, gratitude, joy, excitement in his taking a shot and then congratulating him on that shot completely reprograms the response. So that has helped. But at the same time, the demon is still like, I'm not dead yet. I'm still gonna... And and it happened yesterday. I'm just like, I am gonna fucking destroy this demon. I am gonna destroy. And the only thing that came back to me was prayer and fasting, which is highly intensive. And like, you have to sit, like, prayer is not just wishful thinking. There is an aspect in which your existence at times is affected by wishful thinking, just these small little trifle thoughts, and then they actually accomplish something that's pretty big, but you didn't set out to accomplish it. It was just this, that was just a side thought. I didn't even think that, but it became something big. And so when you have those kinds of thoughts, like, I'd like to get better at this, but you don't necessarily put it into practice yet because you don't know how. So for instance, in the past 6 months for me, I've mentally thought, I want to do this. I am going to do this. This is writing these things in the journal. And those things become then programs in the mind that the mind then throws up every once in a while, like say, oh, here's the program that you wanted to run before. And then when you say, I'm not going to run that program today, the mind goes, oh, okay, we're not going to run that program anymore. But that's the deficit because that's what I want to change. So I have to run that program, which is what the mind does. The mind brings up the things that are programmable, and it is your responsibility to detect those decisions and determine whether or not they should be disavowed, redirected, or developed. So one of the positive things that I'm practicing as a billiardier is positively reinforcing Chip when he makes a good shot. And when he picks up a shot that I leave because I miscued, the challenge is to turn the reaction into just simply a reflective exercise. So if you think about one of the things that I've wished that could happen is that I could see how I missed the shot. Now, there are no lies in billiards. If you miss the shot, it's because you misaligned either the cue ball, the target ball, your cue, or whatever. Like, there's so many different dimensions that will affect your shot. And there are times when I have this shot. The shot is like there is no obstacle. The pocket is right there, and then the ball goes boop, and I was like, that's not. And then that's that reaction. I even had it in my mind. I'm like, that's not where I was aiming. And that demon needs to die. Now, the most amazing thing would be that I make every shot that I intend. I think that's possible, which is why you have runs of the table of 200-300 shots. People just make shots 400 times in a row. They do not miss. And there's no way for me to be frustrated with the fact that I would say that I'm not going to be watching Efron Reyes and thinking to myself, beating myself up that I am not making shots that he can make, because how long has he been playing? How often does he play? You know what I mean? If I wanted to become a gambler or a billiardier, I could simply just walk away from everything right now, take my 2 cue sticks, and be a vagabond billiardier going around and just making a living shooting pool and betting people on billiards. Like, I could create an environment where that's my livelihood. If I don't win, I don't eat. That's no different than starting a business with grooming products. If I don't sell anything, I don't eat. Everyone should be doing this. I try to use myself as a typecast model. Not that I'm Optimus Prime. I'm saying it's common experience. I'm human. You're human. What's your purpose? It's the same as mine. What journey are you on? The same one I'm on. It's just that your path is different because you are you. I am I. But we are both on the same journey Our existence is all the same. You have the same exact calling to do what I'm doing right now for yourself. You don't have to be recording it, but you need to be listening to the voices in your head to detect those voices, determine what those voices are, so that you can either disavow or develop those ideas. In journaling, I have found that creativity has developed with ideas that come to my mind almost spontaneously, but they're not spontaneous, right? The subconscious mind is bringing up ideas that I've had in the past. Going back to that comment by Rupert Spiro or whatever, about there not being any time. So my idea was simply to make a short, which would be maybe a minute long, where I play his clip where he says, "There's no such thing as time. Have you ever been to the past?" My initial thought was, yeah, because when I was in the past, it was the present moment. So it's a false dilemma to say that here in the present moment, I can't go back to the past. Yeah, you can. In your mind, which is what we all do anyway in reflection when we are proud of ourselves and we think, "Oh, that was good. What did I do what did I do well here? Let's do that again. Do that again. Do that again." The opposite, what did I do poorly in this decision? That's reflection. That's going back to the past. Time is a concept, but that doesn't mean that it's not substantial. Time is, well, let me say it this way. Let me ask you this question to think about this. Is there such thing as a meter? 3.3 feet? Is there any such thing as a yard? Is there any such thing as a foot or as an inch? No, I can't show you an inch. There it is. There's an inch. I can't do that. It's a measurement of something else. Distance, elevation. Time is measurement of change. Something was once this, and it is now that. That's a measurement of change. Time exists. The past exists to inform the present. Your present active moment of awareness depends on the programming of your past. And I'm fighting through that right now. The past is necessary because it programs our present. The present is the organic, actual, in real time application of past personalities, which then become the past for the future present moment awareness. So if I have had poor behavior in social situations in the past and I want to change those things in the present moment, I have to reflect upon those situations so that when they come up again, I'm like, oh, this is one of those situations where I have to now be self-controlled, sober-minded, level-headed, patient, all of those things in the present moment. That rewriting of the program in the present moment writes the program for the future. Past, present, future. Time exists. So right now, I can't see myself playing billiards. I can't see myself practicing a shot over and over and over and over again. The mental strength that it takes to lift that X-Wing fighter out of the bog of Dagobah is monstrous in my mind. What I mean to say is that while right now I cannot close my eyes and see myself playing billiards and taking a shot over and over and over and over and over and over and over in my mind. Why? In my mind, I'm not going to miss. Why would I make myself miss in my mind? If I go up and ask that girl out on a date in my mind, she's going to say yes. She's not going to say no. But I am still a Padawan, still exercising that strength of cognitive prowess. And while I could not repeatedly pot shots in my mind, I began to tell myself, missed shots are opportunities to make amends. Just a small little thing. That missed shot is entirely my fault. I missed that shot. It's not like I made a perfect shot and you got in the way, or the ball got in the way, or the bumper got in the way, or whatever. No. The reality is, when I line up a shot and it looks like I'm going to make it and I don't, it's because I was not aligned. Otherwise, physics did dominate. Physics showed me that I was not aligned. So then a missed shot is an opportunity to make amends, to try again. And that will become the voice that replaces that one that is angry Smurf. To conclude, if this is something that you are interested in, if you are early on in your, and I'm just, like 30 or 40% of the way through mine. I mean, I have got a lot of practice to do. But if this is the beginning for you, and you're wondering if meditation or journaling is something that you, or praying, meditation and prayer are really the same thing. And journaling is just simply a physical expression of that. If you are in meditation and you are practicing well, you are able to detect thoughts when they arise and simply let them be or pass without entertaining them, without practicing that thought. So if you're wondering if meditation, journaling, and prayer is something that is appropriate for you, I would simply say try it and find out how active your mind is and try to control your mind on your own. Whether or not it's a tyrannical, urgent need to go, I don't even know, man. Like, it's crazy how sometimes it's just like, hey, go do this one thing that's completely random right now, even though you're meditating. And I just get up and go do that one thing. I was like, what the hell? I was just meditating. Like, why did I? That is a weak mind. If I am just simply compelled to carry out a thought because it's a thought and I have to do it, that is not always appropriate. Sometimes it is. You got to run, you got to fight, you have to stand up, you have to sit down, you have to be silent. Sometimes you have to make an impulsive decision. Like yesterday, a couple of times I lined up a shot that was pretty not a technical. I mean, I guess they're all technical. It was a bank shot, and I didn't even think about it. I just went, there it is, bump bump, and I made it. And it was the full length of the table twice, up and back, no question. Boom boom, did it again. Next shot, boom boom, same thing. Didn't even think about it. So there are times when an immediate thought. There are times when it is appropriate to act in immediacy. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about learning how to detect and determine and disavow or develop thoughts that are either worthless or worthwhile. And that all begins with your taking the time. Create for yourself a pocket of space, 5 minutes. That's going to be an X-wing fighter in the bog. That 5 minutes for you to be still and think to yourself, okay, and then just let the thought, just do this. We're going to wrap this up. If you've made it this far, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and if you haven't subscribed already, do that, as well as hitting that bell so that you can be reminded or alerted or notified when there's uploaded content here. So for you, turn this off. Make sure that everything is, the stove's off, the lights are off, or whatever needs to be done. And then set yourself up in a comfortable position for just 5 minutes. And just do that to see what comes to your mind. Because sometimes subconscious is bringing something that you need to think about. And sometimes subconscious is a distracting voice when you are intentionally focusing on something and it brings up a thought. Like in the midst of while I'm speaking, a thought comes up that I recognize, that I can think of, and that I can either decide to now lose my train of thought and go off on this tack because, oh, this is a good idea. But then I think, what was I saying before? That's not helpful. So that's the tyranny of the urgent in a thought. So then you have to disengage that distraction. And that is all within the power of your mind. Take a few minutes, sit down quietly, get your phone for a note or a notepad. If there's something that's important, jot it down. That's journaling. Just write it down and then go back to it later on and think, okay, now what was I thinking about this? Why did I write this down? What does this have to, is this having it? No, doesn't have, nope. Okay, disavow this. This has been another exciting adventure of meditatio and practio. Practicing meditation. Another exciting adventure on Radio Free Anarchy. I'm your host, Travel Mateus. Until next time.